Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another episode of CxO Tech Talks on CxO Global TV. CxO Global Forum is an invitation-only knowledge-sharing platform for key thought leaders and C-levels across the globe. They're brought together by journalists and all the stakeholders, regulators from all around the world to work on innovation, internationalization, and inspired corporate governance. The aim here is not only to make it a knowledge sharing platform, but also put together key thought leaders who are going to bring about real change. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let me now introduce the topic for the day. So, when we were thinking about the topic for the day, it was very interesting to note that in this day and age, technologies such as big data, cloud computing, and 5G are really reshaping enterprises and economies. This is our new reality, and businesses of all sizes need to accept and embrace this fact. According to a report by the World Economic Forum, by 2025, the market for cloud computing is projected to be at $623 billion, with more than 50% of the world's population now online. This is projected to grow to 70% by the end of the next decade. So businesses not only need to go digital, but have an incentive to do so at an accelerated pace, especially post-pandemic. So, with cloud computing in particular, using the cloud to host information can help a company reduce operational costs. The need for expensive on-site data centers is now reduced. And then cloud being scalable allows for more agility than ever before. To speak on this topic in particular, we have engaged one of the pioneers. He's released. So, Mr. George he's the chairman and CEO at EliteVAD. George, thank you so much.
Thanks, Anza, for the introduction. I'm a founder of EliteVAD, and
absolutely. And speaking to just give a big shout out to Mr. Hasan Zuberi. He's a member and he works for EliteVAD in Dubai for the MENA region. And this initiative of CxO Tech Talks was co-founded by him. So, hats off to him for his forthcoming attitude and the coordination. So coming back to cloud, George, I know you've been working in this area for quite many years. But when we talk about cloud these days, cloud is a real buzzword. What exactly does cloud computing mean?
Cloud computing, from my point of view, it's the collaboration between computing resources and the application. So computing resources like storage, RAM, processing power, and the application that you put on top, like billing, like other portals. So cloud computing is not cloud is not outsourcing of IT for the sake of argument. Lots of people think, put things on the cloud, then I'm outsourcing things. Cloud is about resources sharing, faster time to the market, because cloud computing can be private. So you can have it as a private cloud. It's about managing the resources, your computing resources and the applications. For example, in a university or ministry, you have several departments. So each department go and buy the resources, computing resources and the processing power, as well as applications. Everybody budget for his peak, all right? So what is the results? In a ministry or in an university or any organization, you have idle computing processing power from processing to RAM and the storage. It's not utilized. So you have this department is using it, like in a university. The IT department is consuming lots of resources during the, the start of the year. Then the rest, their application, their servers is not utilized. So the resources there can be utilized by, for example, the labs or the testing other department, all right? So it's about the cloud. It can be private, it can be public, And even in the private cloud, you can share and manage your resources better. So this saves you cost. Secondly, time to the market. So if you are launching new application, yeah, go ahead.
Right. I want to hear more about specific sectors. One of the questions that comes to mind is that will cloud computing render physical storage devices like hard drives or the ROM that you mentioned obsolete?
Okay, not right now, but it will on the long term. Storage, like first of all, people will move to flash storage and the high density storage, and this will be the new alternative, and this will be installed in the big data centers. So the whole technology will change. So yes, the current hard drives will die, but not immediately, but on the short term.
Right. So, what are the benefits of cloud computing, especially just for the corporate sector? So, let's talk about education and ministries later on. But when you're talking about the corporate sector and businesses, be it big
Yes,
businesses, FMCGs, what is the advantage?
there is lots of benefits, from time to the market to cost efficiency. Why? For the sake of argument, I have on my cloud, I have for my operations, I'm in several locations. I stopped buying routers. I stopped buying traditional routers, traditional firewalls. I buy only licenses. Then when I, for example, I have a peak time, I increase the resources, so I'm saving money. So to cut things short, from a corporate point of view, from business's point of view, time to the market. If I want a firewall now, I'll buy it now, whatever the vendor. I'll install it now. So time to the
Right.
market. Become days, not months. Saving cost. So I bought a license, but right now I don't need the high processing power. So I don't need to invest in a big box immediately. When I need the high resources, I rent it. So there is many flexibility, security, even from risk assessment. Like you are making a big project, you invest in big equipment, then you consume time in integration. Whereas you build it now, you decrease the risk because you didn't do the investment yet. You got what I mean?
Right.
So it's much,
Yes,
much safer from investment point of view for normal business people.
right. So, but which sectors must deploy cloud computing if they need to remain market relevant right now? Like if we look at some polarized markets, for example, in South Asia, we talk about Pakistan. There are a lot of like small businesses that think that okay, so it's a very big added cost, and maybe it's only a luxury that MNCs or MNCs should be taking. So, which sector do you think in the market is urgent that they shift to cloud?
From my point of view, all markets are open. From my point of view, all markets, all sectors needs the cloud. So if it's a government, even police, he can build his internal cloud as a private cloud. So from a small organization, so if I'm a small company and I want to save money, it's cheaper to buy a small virtual firewall and I put it on the cloud. OpEx wide. So this from the small person to the top high security organization needs the cloud. The difference is these guys needs private cloud, these guys needs a public cloud, these other guys needs a hybrid cloud. These are totally different.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. So you spoke about cloud computing for education. So let's touch a little bit about the education sector in particular. So why is cloud computing important, and what are the potentials for the cloud computing in education sector?
For the sake of argument, you have seen the corona and how COVID-19 is attacking the whole world and social
Right.
distancing.
Absolutely.
So today, everybody is moving to remote study, to learning management systems. So today, which
Right.
learning management system? The traditional way, each university may need some customization. So first of all, they used to invest in hardware, then they invest in software at their end. With cloud, they can put it at their end. The supplier can keep customizing. Even today, I'm working, and this is still confidential, but I'm working on a project in a country where we put cloud, then we are putting several learning management systems. So each organized university or each school can select which learning management system they prefer. With
Right.
APIs, we do revenue sharing. So it's at the end,
Right.
it's per student. So everybody, so cloud allows multiple learning management system to co-locate in the same area. Each university or end user select what they want and customize what they want without huge investment,
Right.
as
So
they
they can
used to do it
actually,
previously.
right. So actually now education can also be highly customized and based on the needs of the individual. What about cloud governance and governance? How can it be used for ministries
So
like
for
the government?
ministries, it has to be more into like hybrid cloud. So part of it is private, and it has to be controlled by government. It's not public. I'm telling you the honest way. So I
Right.
cannot say, I don't recommend personally that everything to be public cloud. There is still has to things that has to be private cloud. So the benefit for
Because of the
government
sensitive nature of the data.
exactly. So the benefit that they will do is again sharing the resources, sharing the computing power that they invested in. All right. So
Right.
some departments, because they are working on a critical project, they may have invested in big processing power and RAM, but they are not utilizing the whole year. Maybe they need this peak for 1 month. The rest can be used by other departments. So basically, without mentioning names, I've worked on a project in a country where we saved the country 70% of the hardware they
Wow.
used to buy. 70.
Wow. Wow.
Why? You
Mashallah.
are using, some departments are not using the resources all the time. Also, each department, when they buy, because they are worried, they buy for the top, for the peak time over the next 3 years, because he cannot upgrade every day. So basically,
Right.
people buy lots of hardware and they don't utilize. This is affect government budgets. But when
Yes.
the government
Yes.
in each organization, one person, they invest in bare metal without mentioning vendors. So they buy hardware and put it in the POP. Then it is shared by the, how do you call it, the other departments. So each department, because it's cut from his budget, you will select what you need now. Okay.
Okay. Right.
Like
Absolutely.
you yourself as CxO, you are utilizing a cloud solution. You didn't
Right.
invest in your own servers with your own bandwidth.
Right.
You are only paying for the utilization of these
Right.
minutes that we are on the call.
Right, absolutely. But when we talk about, we've spoken about education, we've spoken about governance, but one of the potentials that has been really talked about in terms of cloud is marketing, and
Yes.
then linking up to data as well. So, how is cloud being utilized in marketing and, growth in business?
Basically, marketing. with the more enforcement for privacy laws, actually marketing application and creativity in marketing needs the cloud. So today, with there is the GDPR, and there is lots of changes in privacy laws. So with the change in privacy laws, the whole marketing applications and the ways of marketing is changing as well. When we say changing, and it has to be changing fast, everything is done on the cloud. This is the answer. So actually marketing is moving big time to the cloud. Actually, it's the fastest.
You also mentioned big data, George. And you know how we can utilize the cloud to contribute to data centers, and how is that going to benefit businesses?
So again, the more big data needs processing power and needs so processing power. And the processing power is not just the investment in processing power. It's also processing power. You need air conditioning. You need so the places, and you need redundancy for the data center. So technically, when, like for example, these days, everybody in the US is moving from California going to Texas. Why? The big guys are moving to Texas because taxation, part of it, electricity, cost of electricity, for example, like everybody with big data, like everybody is moving there because is now it's a 2 cents. The electricity there is too low as 2 cents. So simply lots of players are moving there because of lower cost, because you invest in hardware, but also you have the labor as well. You have the so taxation and electricity. Yes.
Right, absolutely. And we've discussed about marketing and education, the governance, but another concern these days, and a very important concern, is post-COVID, post-pandemic, there is a lot of changes that are happening in the healthcare sector, right?
Yes.
How can cloud play a role in healthcare and the pharmaceutical industry?
Actually, when you have a public cloud, things are put on public cloud with security for sure, and authorization and authentication. So if you put the things with the proper authorization and the proper authentication on the cloud, you will have fantastic and the better medical service. Why? Because you can do sharing medical records will be very faster and very easier and safer, because you can authorize and authenticate. So if you put the authorization and authenticate, you'll have much better medical service. You can go, you don't care, oh, where is my rest of folders? Doctors will find everything very easy. So sharing medical records will be much easier. Compliance, governance, because you put the authorization and authentication. So you can have better governance, compliance, and you can apply standards.
Oh, yes, applies it. And do you think it can have some potential in rolling out vaccine these?
For sure, because for the sake of argument, like from running the cloud, you need to monitor, for example, the temperature of the vaccine from the day it's manufactured up till it is given. If you put the authorization and the authentication, so you put the proper security in place, you need to monitor the whole chain from, this means IoT on the cloud. So because you need to monitor from the manufacturing till the delivery. For example, I'm involved in a project like this in Brazil and other places. So so basically monitoring the cloud, from monitoring the vaccine from manufacturing till delivery, and it is still okay and it's still valid, and not how do you call it, apologies for my English. Like
No worries.
like it didn't get bad. It
Yeah.
didn't
So
spoil due
obviously
to.
quality is the
Yes, also
quality
the
is standardized.
application, exactly, the application
Right.
for queuing. So I'm going there at 11 a.m., taking the vaccine. So the process, queuing of people, managing the people, all this runs on the cloud.
Absolutely. And now there's a lot of potential that at least I see in it, George, because, with the new travel restrictions and COVID being there, people that are vaccinated versus people who are not vaccinated, and so on and so forth. I think it's going to completely change how immigration works at airports as well. So, if we have this data available on the cloud, maybe, if you are entering a country or a jurisdiction, it would be very easy to figure out whether someone has been vaccinated or has the immunization or not. So
It has to
I
be
think
verified.
that's for sure.
It has to
Yes,
be
it has to
verified,
be.
because just going there with a printed paper, this doesn't mean. So people has to
Yeah,
verify. Yes.
absolutely.
So
But since George, you also mentioned about verification and authentication and authorizations with the cloud coming in so rapidly. I know a lot of businessmen here in particular, and some governments also, very, because they are a little reluctant because they feel like we have so much sensitive data that they don't want to take the risks, right? So, what are some of the risks involved with cloud computing, such as are there any possible security breaches, and how can they be curtailed?
first of all, thanks for the question because it's a dilemma, and the people go and keep like says we are not going there because of security. My answer to them, first of all, with the applications, with what I've seen, it can saves you lots of security, or at least with the current budget, you can be more secure on the cloud. So security services and security applications on the cloud is now available, and it is available. So moving to the cloud can be even much safer than putting it at your end. Why? Putting it at your end, do you know how to secure it? So you need to invest in more labor, and you need to invest in more hardware, because security now it becomes layers. So you only, it's not anti DDoS
Multi-factor.
alone. So you need to put anti-DDoS, you need to put anti-malware, anti-spyware, anti-next generation firewall. So it's, you need a whole lot of layers of security. You need also access and control for the rest of the IPs. So simply from access, network access controller. So you need lots of security elements. So now on the cloud, it is available cheaper and faster, comparing if
Right.
you going to do it yourself. So security, it's available on the cloud, and sometimes I can tell you it's cheaper. However, you need to put the right thing, from the right encryption with the right authentication with the right security process. So authentication is different from authorization. So I
Right.
authenticate, then I authorize. I can authorize, for example, like when I open a file, I can authorize. I know Hasan, so I'll authorize Hasan to open the file anytime. But for you to open
Right.
the file, you need me or Hasan to authorize you.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
you can have the file on any even peripheral, not just on the cloud, but nobody can open it without the proper authorization. So authentication is something, authorization is something else.
Right, absolutely. And when we talk about, some of the other security breaches, what can be done in terms of, when the government has access to, let's say, all our social security numbers, or, public health initiatives? There is a very big concern now where, we read about some cases in the past where people's social security numbers or IDs were hacked. And this was done from government data centers, and doesn't that, and then they were later on sold in at dark web, right? So how can we put in the right kind of security measures?
So this is very good question. Basically, as I mentioned, the, I'm not pushing everything to be put on a public cloud. So there is
Right.
private cloud, hybrid cloud, and the public cloud. So each organization
Right.
has to measure which type of cloud to be put on. All right. So, for example, like we have our own approach, like Vipsy. If you visited vipsy.com, we have
Right.
public cloud on vipsy.com, but in the same time, we have cloud automation and orchestration. So cloud automation and orchestration, you can put it for a private cloud that doesn't touch. So you have the same features, but on your premises. So you can manage this. Not only this, but with SD-WAN. Why SD-WAN? So
Yeah,
you
with
need to
SD-WAN,
consider,
secure data.
so because
Right.
in a
Sorry, go
cloud,
on.
you need A end and the B end. You need to protect from SD, you need to protect from the A side to the B side, from the end, from the user side, from the endpoint up to the server sides. Hackers is no longer attacking servers because servers are most probably protected, 90% protected. People attack endpoints. However, eh, you need to protect the A end, the main site at the government side. You need to protect the B end, and you need to protect in between. So building a cloud, okay, if you build the cloud, but the link is not protected, then you have a problem. So you need to protect the whole part. Is it doable? The answer is yes and easy. So if you visited the website, you will see how we orchestrate it.
Absolutely. So when people mention cloud computing, there's also a lot of correlation with machine learning, and we've seen this happen in times of COVID as well, where some call centers or you let's say cloud-powered citizen hotlines came about. So when people were not available for calling in, but there were like chatbots installed and so on and so forth. Or even when we talk about machine learning in terms of hospitals where the cloud played its role. How do you think machine learning and cloud overlap?
Actually, it works together. Like for example, in artificial intelligence in security, machine learning. For example, I know your machine trend. So if you started to have activity abnormal than the trend, you will get alert. You have abnormal trend. You don't utilize these resources on a Friday, but when you started to misbehave, you will have an alert. You got what I mean? You don't utilize
Yes,
certain applications, then you started to do it. All right, machine learning will alert. This is abnormal behavior by you.
yes,
You understand my point? So actually, it works a
absolutely.
lot. They go together.
Right. George, when we spoke about cloud computing quite in detail. And thank you so much for covering this topic with your in-depth knowledge. However, what I want to ask you is that in the future, since more and more businesses will now be moving towards cloud and maybe even be outsourcing uh, this element, or maybe shifting towards public clouds or private clouds. How important are these partnerships for sustainability in a business?
So basically, partnership will grow more, and everybody will try to partner. Otherwise, they will lose market. Like for the sake of argument, in the clouds I operate, I'm no longer buying physical routers. I buy virtual router. So I put hardware
Right.
connected to big pipe to the telco. I no longer buy physical routers. I buy it as a virtual router from the same vendors, but virtual. So simply today, things are changing. Things are changing. So people partner together because if you didn't partner, to prove, you will be forgotten because everybody is moving to the cloud. The only difference is, again, is it a private cloud or a public cloud or a hybrid cloud? Like I have a customer who
Right.
has 100% private cloud for, it's a utility company, 100% private when it comes to the production part. Then he has another cloud that is hybrid, which is where he put the employees things, the other things, but not the production. Then he put his customers portal on the public cloud.
Right.
So this
Absolutely.
way he reduces the cost.
Right. George, another concern that people have is that in terms of cloud, right, and services like the cloud, it is easy for companies like SMEs or MNCs, FMCGs to invest in cloud, right? But startups often, since I interview a lot of startup founders as well, they say that cloud services, it's not that affordable for them. So, are there any affordable solutions for startups or people who are not starting with a big investment?
Yes, the answer is yes. There is several players, clouds. So cloud is not only Amazon and Azure. So
Yeah.
cloud is there is many players on the over 15 player around the world. Big ones, in addition to the regional ones.
Right.
Uh, like for the sake of argument, on Vipsy, you can start with $4 a
Okay.
serve a
Wow.
month,
Only $4.
only $4 a month. So
So, what
simply,
would your advice for startups be? What would your advice for startups be?
actually, do your homework. I mean, search, you will find the right solutions. Like for the sake of argument, when I started with pops in the US, then I went to Amsterdam, then I went to Canada, then I'm coming to the Middle East. So I started already Middle East Africa. So I'm launching in Egypt right now, and I started in Djibouti. I discovered I have customers in Saudi Arabia and in UAE are served from Djibouti side. So
Wow.
people search. So people search. They install. They went initially put it in the US. When they discovered that the latency to Djibouti is very small, they themselves move their stuff. So customers are wise. So people who complain, if they went to do the search, I have over how do you call it? In Middle East, I have over 200 good customer in the Middle East who, without any salesperson contacting them, they came, they searched, they installed their stuff, they tried between the pops. They themselves discovered that putting their stuff between Amsterdam and Djibouti, because it's near to them, have better latency. So they take the risk of
Hello? Yeah.
basically customers. Hello.
Yes, yes, I
Hello.
hear you.
Sorry,
Go
I
on.
got the internet. So customers from Middle East, they searched and they found, and not only they went to the US, then even moved to the server that is nearer to them. So there is
Wow.
services. Amazon and Azure is not the only players. There is Alibaba. There is lots of players. Okay.
Right.
What I offer in Vipsy is I offer private, hybrid, as well as the public, not just the
And
public. So for people who
also in
want to
terms
build
of
their
billing,
own stuff,
you also mentioned that there's flexible and extended billing that gives you control, right? So would you like to
yes.
elaborate about this? Can you elaborate a little more about what does it mean to give flexible and expected billing that gives us control?
Yes. Billing, if you cannot bill, you cannot sell. So there is lots of technical features. If you can't integrate it with a proper billing, people cannot offer because of billing. So either they do it manually, so manually means a time for approvals, or they do it automated. And when we say manually, this means you go to compliance issues. Things that is automated, it's automated. So it complies with compliance. Whereas manual, this is a question mark for unclear things. So when you have billing can even use for security. Like in our case, there is no IP address can work without proper credit, or we can see his utilization from a monetization point of view. So Mr. CFO is happy to know the cost of each application and the cost of every employee on him, who is utilizing what. So CFO are happy, but guess what? IT people are happy. Why? Because in a traditional organization, you can go, you see lots of racks full of servers. Do you know how many virtual machine is in it? What does it do?
No.
In our system, a small junior accountant can find and ask the question, what this virtual machine is doing. So there is accountability to the resources. There is lots of telcos. They have fraud. Why? Because some guys installed the wrong virtual machine in the wrong area, did wrong job. That goes to big fraud. This fraud can be financial fraud, or even can be considered huge security breach. So simply speaking, when you have the billing actually works on securing. So even for private cloud, I still insist you have to put the billing. Why? To know the cost. To know the cost of every application, every individual, as well as you cannot get extra machine or IP address to work without your knowledge. So everybody can be counted. The accountant doesn't know what the IP is.
So every penny is accounted for, and every effort is accounted for. This is great for accountability. George, unfortunately, we have come to the end of our session today. We would love to hear from you in the future. But for now, I would like to ask you, what would be your message, in short, for all the people that are watching right now?
So I see, move to the cloud to save cost and to make things faster, time to the market. You only need to select, is it a private cloud or a public cloud or a hybrid?
Or a hybrid.
Yes. Yeah. And absolutely, you will save cost and time.
Right. Thank you so much, George, for your time. Thank you, Mr. Hasan Zuberi, for coordinating this. It has been knowledgeable indeed. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching, and we and pray that you all are keeping in COVID times. And with the new changes, technologies such as cloud are going to ensure sustainability for businesses. So I would highly encourage you all to do your research. And do let us know if there are any other topics that you would like for us to discuss. So until next time, thank you so much for your time, and keep us updated with your comments and feedback. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.